Joe Rogan made a huge mistake. Let's check this out.
Heavy heart that I bring you all some sad news about Joe Rogan. I get no pleasure in talking about this, but I think it's important to address. Joe Rogan has done something remarkably silly, if you can believe that. He made a bit of a boo-boo, a mistake, a very public mistake, and one that I am personally involved in. Now, I'll go ahead and be upfront and honest out the gate here, because honesty is the best policy, as my old 4th grade teacher used to say, God rest their soul. I don't really listen to Rogan much anymore. It's been quite some time since I watched or listened to a full Rogan episode, but I do still keep up to a certain degree, and recently he made a bit of a blunder on his show. Now, I'm also very familiar with the memes that have floated around about Rogan for at least a couple years now about him being dead. And after this clip, I'm starting to believe in the conspiracy. Maybe Joe Rogan really did pass away a while back and he's been replaced by an AI chat GPT.
Okay.
Because I cannot wrap my head around how he even made this mistake. So what happened is Joe Rogan was talking about a very sad video he watched of a father-son boxing match where the father beat the shit out of his son and people cheered and it made him sick.
Okay.
Hearing that story, of course, does tug on the heartstrings and would probably make most people a little confused and maybe even angry.
I need some more.
But the problem is,
I need some
what
more
Joe
details.
Rogan is describing is not the reality of what he watched.
Okay,
What he was talking about is the Creator Clash, which was a YouTuber boxing event, and the match in particular he's referring to is Matt Watson versus Dad. Dad is the YouTuber's online handle. So Joe Rogan watched that and believed it was a real father-son boxing match.
Oh my God.
And where I get involved is I was literally one of the commentators for this match. So you'd have to actually be watching that with the sound off and very close to passing out from overdosing on Xanax to even for 1 second believe what you were witnessing was a real father-son match.
What the hell?
I saw a video today of a boxing match between a father and a son. It made me so sad. It made me so sad. Because there's this young kid. He looks like he's probably like 17, 18. And the father's 42. And the father beats the shit out of him. I mean, like, dings him in the head and keeps punching him. I'm like, that's your son.
That's your son.
That's your son.
What I find extremely entertaining about this situation is he has an entire team around him, and not a single one bothered to correct him until the very end after he had already made a fool of himself. They're probably just like giggling.
They wanted to let him cook,
tell
man.
The story, just waiting for the moment to drive the knife in to let him know, like, no, you actually got that super fucked up. You got that so twisted. That's not what happened. But this isn't even a matter of Joe Rogan not doing research. This goes a step beyond this. This is a matter of Joe Rogan not even bothering to turn the sound on to the video he's talking about. Because if you unmuted it, you would hear us, the commentators, explaining like the event and the situation and what was going on. So he had to have watched this with the sound off in order to even come close to misunderstanding what was happening. And even then, that's a stretch. You'd also have to be way too high to read, because when they walk out, their subscriber numbers are posted under their name. So like all of the
he must have only like watched
are there and drilled into the spectator's head.
He must have not watched the whole video.
It misses Joe entirely, which is just wild.
He watched like 10 seconds of the fight on mute.
He's wearing like an astronaut spacesuit during this this rant that he goes on here, because it fits the mood beautifully. It's such a wonderful compliment. Now, to be fair to Joe, in his defense, at the end of the clip, he mentions that the video title he watched misled him. And in that clip that he references, the original audio is gone and replaced with a guy lying about the whole situation.
Oh, so it was a little meme post.
I just still don't understand why Joe would just take all of that at face value without just watching the original clip without the voiceover. I feel like he would have done both. Like, after being made aware of the situation, he then would have watched the original. But then maybe I'm putting too much faith in his process. Like maybe I'm giving too much credit for his researching. Maybe he just watched this YouTuber voiceover that fed him a lot of misinformation and just instantly believed it without a second thought.
And we're watching you beat your son up, because I get your son probably got cocky with you, but and he celebrates after he knocks his son out.
Oh yeah, how dare
It
he?
made me so sad.
What a piece! What a piece of shit!
Brain damage now, 100%.
Brain
maybe
damage,
it's just a little. Maybe he'll be fine. Maybe he'll get over it. But maybe you fucked him up. That can happen too. He might be depressed from now on after that. It might fuck up his pituitary gland. It happens to people. and you just did that to your son, you're supposed to like touch him up. You're supposed to not even hurt him. Like slam him in the body a little bit. Like, you think he can fight? Okay, dude. Okay, let's have a little boxing match. You don't tee off.
This is so funny, dude. Holy shit.
It's crazy.
That is crazy. And I really love the fantasy Joe was in for however brief a time that he had just watched a clip from a television broadcast where a father beats the fuck out of their son live in front of an audience as everyone cheers. That is such an amazing, like, visual. And Joe's like, this is madness. What are we, barbarians? What happened to civilization? We're watching fathers beat their son for
society
sport.
that we live in.
What's next? Are we going back to the Colosseum? Blood sports? Watching people die? When will the madness end? What's next in this lunacy? It's just so wild that this actually happened.
How old was the kid?
Kid looks young.
The music that they're
like,
playing too.
You know, he could be 20. He could be 19. He looks young. He's real skinny. And the father's kind of jacked. Not too jacked, but, you know, he's fit. And he could fucking punch.
He is, beating the shit out of him.
Goddamn.
Goddamn.
No idea what the fuck he's doing. I don't know what the thing was. Like, someone sent it to me, and they were like cheering.
I don't know what the thing was.
I was like, you guys are crazy. That you failed. You've failed as a man. Yeah, this is it.
That's not exactly what was happening.
It's not.
That's not exactly what was happening.
Oh, why does it lie? It says father knocks out son in celebrity boxing match.
Gotta get somebody to click on this.
Oh.
This was like a YouTuber thing. This guy's a YouTuber and he's a YouTuber.
I'm such a sucker.
For some reason, this was oddly cute, where he's like, oh, why would they lie? Reminds me of that scene in Arthur about, would someone really do that? Go online and tell lies? Like, Joe is just like so trusting. He's like, oh, I got betrayed. The title misled me. Man, I'm such a sucker.
It is kind of funny that they let him talk about it for
like,
that long,
at least he
too.
owned up to it. Like, I appreciate that he didn't try and fight and get defensive about it. Now, I went to the video here, and it's only 30 seconds, and it's actually none of the audio from the actual event. It's another man who's just spreading misinformation, saying this was a father-son grudge match. And I guess for some reason, Joe Rogan took all of that at face value. I just find it hard to believe that he only watched that 30-second clip and just believed it. Because Joe Rogan questions fucking everything. So he's just going to a random channel in like 360p because it's been fucking ripped and re-uploaded 1,000 times, so it's in shit quality. And for some reason, Joe Rogan just believed a completely random stranger online telling lies. I'm just still not fully convinced that he just received this random email and just watches everything that gets sent to him. This is a 20,000 view video. Are you telling me Joe Rogan sits there late at night and just goes through his entire email list of every single video sent to him, no matter how small, and just believing every single thing he sees? I don't know. That just doesn't strike me as realistic. But then after this situation, I guess it could be. Who knows? But since we're talking about Joe Rogan, I always like to take an opportunity to bring up his incredible nipples. Those are absolutely legendary.
Oh, yeah, he has some.
So I'm going to play you a stream.
Doesn't he have some like big ass nipples or something?
Joe Rogan's nipples, because I think every time he's mentioned in conversation, it's important that we highlight just how beautiful those puppies are. We all know you love Joe Rogan's long nips. I don't know how many times I need to talk about how great his nipples are. He has the best nipples in the game. Legitimately, no one has a better set of udders than Joe Rogan. And since you brought it up, now I've got to pull up the picture, because I already know there's going to be people in here who haven't seen them. They're fucking incredible.
Yeah, he does have some weird ass nips.
Oh, this is this is my tweet too. When you type in Joe Rogan nipples, it's my tweet. That's so fucking amazing. I'm glad. Just look at those. Look at those puppies. Just like two tiny little fingers. I know this happens every time I bring up Joe Rogan's nipples. It always,
like door stoppers, you can flick them. They go boy.
Always blows my mind that more people haven't seen these. They're so cool. It casts its own shadow. I've talked about it
casts its own shadow.
Joe
That's
Rogan's
right.
nipples are kind of like the thing Carl Sagan made, where he could prove the world was round using like 2 pillars. He talked about that experiment where they like erected 2 pillars, and judging by the shadow, they were able to deduce that the world was round. You could do that same experiment on Joe Rogan's nipples. They're like little sundials. Yeah, like I said.
What language is his Twitter in
the game? Like, not even close. I have never seen nipples that look like Joe's. I didn't even think they could. They're like 2 tiny little tater tots. Well, tiny's the wrong word. They're anything but tiny. You could attach a car battery to them. Why is your website in a different language? Because for some reason, when I Googled his nipples, it defaulted to whatever language this is. I don't know why,
That's weird.
but it's my tweet that it went to, which is cool. Why do they protrude so much? Has he talked about his condition of his nipples? Obviously, he was in a cold bath. That
All
doesn't
right,
change.
thanks, Charlie. Good video.